How you communicate is directly cohesive with your success in dating, relationships, sales, your business, literally every area of your life. Because communication is the heartbeat of everything we do, so it makes sense. Let's use a perfect example such as having a difficult conversation. If you are not well equipped going into this conversation beforehand, you're going to have a really tough time getting the desired outcome that you are likely seeking. So say beforehand, try and equip yourself properly going into the conversation. Some of my favorite tips would be, okay, what are the outcomes? What is the dream outcome of this difficult conversation that you would like to obtain? Start practicing the conversation with yourself, assuming you know about the conversation beforehand. Start going over the things that you will say, that you think the other person or people involved might say. You can even start to write notes and jot these thoughts down. That way you are practicing beforehand, feeling much more confident going into this uncomfortable conversation. And I could go on and on about some of these different examples, but I will incorporate those through the course of this video and other videos as well. This video is going to be specifically for people who are struggling to feel heard, to feel seen, to feel validated. You see, all of these things do come from being an excellent communicator, and all of that takes time, patience, repetition, and practice to get there. First thing I want to talk about is AI. It seems so many people are so fearful of the future because of AI replacing people, replacing jobs, all of these things, and guess what? That is the reality. However, when it comes to actually speaking in person, these are real world human skills that I would say cannot be replaced by AI. And so that's another reason why I think it's so important that we focus on this skill, is because no matter how great we become at ChatGPT or using these artificial outlets to express our thoughts, that will never replace the in-person vocalization that we need to be successful in our relationships, in our business. Although AI can be exceptional in many ways for saving time and utilizing it in your business, communication is always going to be the backbone of everything we do. So pushing that aside is not going to do you any good. Focus on cultivating these real world skills because they are going to be around for the rest of time. The next thing would be actively listening. And you may be thinking, what does listening have to do with communication? Well, virtually everything. Because if we aren't an excellent listener, then we're not going to be able to communicate effectively either. 20 to 25% of people, when they are being told something, do not actually listen to what the other person is trying to convey. And that is a problem because that means that the other people will also start to pick up on this. Say you're like, what did you say? Or asking a bunch of follow-up questions. Once in a while, from time to time, that is okay, right? We are all humans. We all might let something go in and out one ear. But if we're not listening and we're always just thinking about, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say, right? What are my next thoughts? People pick up on that, and that's not attractive when you're trying to build relationships and when you're trying to have fruitful conversations with other people. So keep focusing on strengthening that listening muscle as a first basic step of becoming an excellent communicator. And a great question to ask yourself is, are you actually absorbing what the other person or people are saying, or are you just dying to make it all about you? Because we all know somebody who, when we're talking to them, always makes the conversation about them, right? They constantly, it's like a cyclical thing. You're talking about something and then it goes back to them, right? I want you to think about that person right now. Don't be that person. Another thing would be the pause. I feel like so many people get uncomfortable with silence in conversations, guys, but it can be such an excellent thing. Think about a time when you were having a conversation with somebody and this person happens to use a lot of filler words such as like, that can kind of sound a little bit unattractive when you're trying to vocalize yourself in an articulate manner, right? And so let's pause. Let's do it for a second. Me and you, across the street. Focus on having a moment of silence. And I promise you, it's not as bad as you think. Would you rather be, say, on a stage speaking and you're hearing that speaker, or would you rather just hear, you would probably just rather hear a moment of silence, right? And that's why it's okay to become comfortable with pausing in your conversations if you want to feel like you're being more respected, more heard, and more validated during conversations. Pause, think, speak. I promise you, you are going to gain so much more out of conversations and even respect from other people when you truly think about the words that you are trying to vocalize rather than getting anxious and uncomfortable and filling those spaces with something that you might regret. Practice, practice, practice. Does practice make perfect? No, but you know what? It certainly makes better. Maybe it's your first time being a guest on a podcast. Maybe you're about to have a difficult conversation. Maybe you're speaking in public and you're petrified about saying the wrong thing. You goof up, you said something silly, but you know what? Good for you for at least trying. You know, I can really respect people who are willing to make a fool out of themselves, who are willing to keep practicing and practicing and practicing until people could never even imagine that you were once in square one of whatever it is you're doing. In this example, it would be communicating. Putting yourself in those situations that I just mentioned is also going to propel you in becoming the most excellent communicator that you can be. One way to practice your communication skills is literally by talking to yourself. It sounds silly, but it works. Seriously, you're singing to yourself in the shower, you're practicing a speech or a conversation you have coming up. All of these things week by week, month by month are going to aid in your success with communication. That's what I did. You know, I used to say so many filler words. I would look back at myself on a podcast or speaking up on stage and I was like, wow, I actually really suck. But you know what? A year later, I'm looking at those same videos and like, wow, I really grew because I practiced. By bit and piece by piece, as we are speaking words out into this world, they are all going to fall in that, push in becoming a better communicator, whether you think so or not, because that is part of it, is we do have to actually speak. We can't just be quiet all day long and think we're suddenly going to become better at communicating. We have to practice, we have to speak, we have to do the uncomfortable things in order to get us from point A to point B, and doing all of those things will be the vehicle to get us there. Lastly, I want to say be patient with yourself, right? If we want to get better at anything in life, this stuff is going to take time and patience. And if you truly want to be the best at the best of anything in life, then it's going to take time. And that's something that you're going to have to become confident and comfortable with.